This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 634.
I program my own computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology. The technology.
Why? Hello, everybody. This is Adam Silvey, host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. We have one next weekend, WordCamp Malaga. It's in Spain, April 24th, 25th. For the record, I've been to the city, this town. It's been 25 years ago, but I did go to Malaga almost on accident when I was traveling around before I got married. And it is by far one of my favorite places and memories of traveling through Europe. And I need to go back. It's just a magical place. I'm hoping it hasn't changed much. I mean, I'm sure it has in 25 years, but still just one of the best places on the planet. So maybe I'll go. I'll just pop over. Anyway, I believe it's probably all in Spanish, the entire camp, I would imagine. So it might be difficult for me. I do speak enough Spanish to get around, but I'm not fluent nonetheless. All right. So that's it for upcoming events. Moving on, segment one in the news. One thing here, and that is PatchStack reported that there was a critical supply chain compromise on 20 plus plugins. This is by Essential Plugin, and there's a really great write-up on this over on PatchStack's website. I'll link to it for sure. But apparently Essential Plugins was sold, and then it was created back in 2015 and it was sold recently in 2025, and then somehow something got injected there. So if you are running any of those plugins, you want to go make sure you update them because there's some malware in those. So all right, check that out. Like I said, link in the show notes. All right, moving on to the meat and potatoes of this week's episode, but first a word from our sponsor.
Running a small business today means showing up everywhere, in-store, online, and everywhere in between. Maybe you're ringing up customers at the counter while orders are coming in from your website at the same time. That's where the right hosting partner makes all the difference. With Host Papa, your WordPress website is ready to go from day one. That means your site loads quickly and runs smoothly, without needing to figure out any of the technical stuff behind the scenes. And with the WP Toolkit, you can manage everything in one place. No jumping between dashboards, no headaches. Just simple, streamlined control. Want to test a new product page or update your design? Use the built-in staging environment to try it out before it goes live. Plus, with automatic updates and built-in security protections, your site stays safe and up to date without extra effort. And if you ever need help, Host Papa's 24/7 human support team is always there. Real people ready to help your business keep moving. So whether you're building your first site or leveling up your online store, you can focus on your customers, not your website. For more information, check out hostpapa.com and get your business online today.
All right. Again, thanks to Host Papa for sponsoring this week's episode. Really appreciate having you on board for the past few weeks. It's been great. All right, moving on, meat and potatoes. And this week, I want to talk about something that honestly doesn't get enough attention. And yet it can and often does eat into the profit center of a project. And because of timelines and sanity, it just happens so often. And I just see it all the time. And that is quality assurance. QA, if you will. Not the QA of questions and answers, which I do every 8 weeks. But this one is quality assurance of a project. And the definition out there online is it's a systematic, process-oriented approach aimed at ensuring software products meet specified requirements and quality standards before release. AKA, you got to test things, make sure it's working, and not just think, we'll fix this in post-production, what we used to say in video production world, or at launch, because those few things somehow can turn into extra days, if not weeks, which does break the bank, okay? Because you put in profit, you put in margin in there. So I have 5 sections I want to talk about here. Who should be doing it, what the process may look like, etc. So starting with section 1, the basic deal is QA almost always gets underestimated. It's one of those phases that lives at the end of a project timeline, which means it gets squeezed in. When design runs long, then development runs long, and then QA gets like, oh yeah, cool, you've got 3 days to get this done. And that's when things start to go sideways. Because QA is not just checking if a page loads. It's, does everything function correctly? Does it match what was approved, the project plan, if you will? Does it actually work like a real user would expect it to? And then the big one is, QA is where scope creep loves to show up, because a client sees a near final product and says, hey, can we just tweak this? Or can we add one more thing? Can this page work slightly differently? And none of those things are bugs. Those are new requests. But if you don't have the guardrails, they get treated like QA fixes. Now, and that's where the margin can very much and often slowly disappear. All right, section 2, who should be doing QA? Who owns it? Well, the short answer is not just one person, and definitely not just the developer, because developers are great at building things, but they're also the worst testers of their own work, not because they're bad, but because they know how it's supposed to work. They're not going to accidentally click the wrong thing or go down a weird path. So internally, you need and you want multiple perspectives. Dev checks functionality. PM may check against scope and requirements. Designer checks visual accuracy. And ideally, someone with fresh eyes who hasn't been deep in the project at all checks it out. That fresh eyes role is huge. And then there's the client side. And this is where a lot of projects break down. If the client doesn't know they're responsible for QA as well, or they think it's just a quick review, you're in trouble. You have to set that expectation very early. This is a working session. You're testing your site, not just approving it, is what you might want to say. Otherwise, you're going to get feedback that's very vague, and they're going to be like, hey, that looks good, pretty good overall. And then during post-launch, they're going to say, wait, this doesn't do what we thought it might, or what it should, and what we discussed, because, well, they didn't take the time. All right, section 3 is really building the actual QA process. If your QA process is basically run through the entire site to see what breaks, that's the problem. You need a structure here. At a minimum, you should be thinking in buckets. Functional QA, does it work? Visual QA, does it match design? Content QA, is everything accurate, spelled right, and linked correctly? And this shouldn't start at the end. It should start throughout, if not the very beginning. QA should be happening the whole time, during development on key features, during staging reviews. Before you ever call something ready is when QA should be happening. Then you need a system for tracking feedback, tickets, docs, screen recordings, something centralized. Because scattered feedback across email, Slack, random comments, that is going to be just chaotic to no end. And finally, define what done means. Not we think it's good, but really all the critical functions work, all agreed pages are complete, all known issues are resolved or documented. That definition alone can save you and will save you a ton of back and forth. All right, section 4, the user path problem. This is one I think gets missed the most. QA is not page by page. It's journey-based. I'm gonna say that again. It is a journey-based process. Real users don't land on one page, admire it, and leave. I mean, of course not. They're gonna land on the homepage. They may click on something. They may go to a product or a service. They might fill out a form or try to buy something. So that full path needs to be tested multiple times in different scenarios. Mobile versus desktop, logged in versus logged out, fast versus slow connections. Because what happens here is everything looks perfect when you check individual pages. But when you actually try to go from start to finish, something breaks. Something will break. It happens all the time. And that's the stuff that hurts, because that's what real users are going to experience. So you make sure that the whole journey is mapped out in multiple different ways. It's not sexy. It's not pretty. It's maybe not even fun, but it's necessary. All right, section 5, time, budget, and boundaries. Let's talk about the uncomfortable part, time and money. QA takes longer than people think. And if you don't explicitly account for it in your proposal and in your timeline, you're basically volunteering for the work, right? To do free work. And this is where QA back to proposals really matters. You need to really allocate real hours for it. Define how many revisions rounds are included. Clearly separate bug fixes from a new request, change of scope. That last one's huge. A bug is, it doesn't work as agreed. A new request is, I want it to work differently. If you don't draw that line, everything becomes QA. And suddenly your fixed priced project isn't so fixed anymore. Also, you need a stopping point. There is no such thing as a perfect website at launch. It just isn't going to happen. There's ready, and then there's we've been QAing this for 6 weeks and still finding tiny things. At some point, you have to say, we're good, let's launch. I honestly believe that. I mean, I suppose if you do a single one-page website that is exactly designed as expected and has the functionality that has no functionality. It's just a one pager, not even a form, then sure, that could be perfect. May not need QA in a deep dive QA. It's going to just need to make sure everything's spelled right and grammar looks good, etc. But other than that, it's just, you got to just let things go and then fix from there. All right. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here. QA, not flashy, not fun, but absolutely critical. And honestly, it's one of the biggest levers you have to protect your time, your margin, and the sanity of the project. If you treat it like an afterthought, it's going to cost you. If you build a real process around it, it becomes a major strength. And it'll probably save you months of, why are we still working on this? Those moments over months of time, right? So keep that in mind. All right, there you go. That's the QA overview, 30,000 foot view. Hope that helps you. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this. I would love to talk to you about it as well. All right, moving on. Segment 3, tip and tool of the week. Now, I'm not sure who has more side projects these days, but my good friend, and you're a friend of the show, my friend of the show. Yeah, anyway, my buddy Marcus Burnett has a new thing. And it's an ever-growing collection of plugins, one price per month, access to all of them, kind of like SetApp over for, there's an online service called SetApp, which it's pretty cool. And he's been working on this for a while. There's like 18 or 20 plugins now. Anyway, new site, it's up, it's live. It's over at wellplayedwp.com. That's W-E-L-L, played, P-L-A-Y-E-D, WP.com. It's pretty cool. I helped kind of test it, looked at it for him when he was under development. It's pretty neat. Check it out and, give him a shout out. If you need any of his plugins, buy in. He's a great guy. Love you, Marcus. Okay. Anyway, other than that, let me wrap it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use the SpeakPipe function of the website. If you want to support the show, become a Patreon. You can do that. You can also buy me a coffee. If you want to sponsor the show, you can do that. There's a form on the website. I'll get right back to you after you fill it out. Again, thanks to Host Papa for sponsoring this week. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right. Bye-bye.